Hello everyone, welcome back to the vast and ominous Comic Vault. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is Austin the Day Ghost.
What's up?
Tonight was my turn to pick, and I decided to grab something that I've meant to cover for years and years. Austin, I don't know why it took this long to finally get to this, but today we're going to take a look at the first 6 issues of Daredevil, the absolute first 6 issues of Daredevil, going all the way back to 1964, the first volume by Stan Lee, and several artists. This particular book changed over artists a bunch in just the first few issues. But it lands on Wally Wood by the end of what we read, and then he stays on for, I think, like 4 issues, and then it changes over yet again, and starts with Bill Everett, and I guess Kirby even co-designed the costume. I read that, but he's not credited anywhere in the book. So you'd think that Everett just came up with it whole cloth, but apparently Kirby co-did the suit, which I had not read before.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but like, I can kind of see it. Like, it makes sense.
That might be mentioned in Stan Lee's introduction to this Marvel Masterworks that I've got that collects these issues. It's funny because I ended up reading this in digital today. I swear to God I owned this, and I was looking through my trades and I couldn't find it. And then just, I guess I just looked over it, and finally, after I had read everything, I went and looked again, and there it was. Luckily, so I was able to read this forward that Stan Lee has, but he's got a breakdown of the artists. Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure if that's here or if I read that somewhere else. So, grain of salt with that, but...
When I thought Wally Wood stayed on for longer than he actually did.
I did too!
Because when I think of early Daredevil, I think of Wally Wood.
Yeah. Stan Lee in that introduction mentions it's like 4 issues, maybe. Or maybe, no, maybe it's a little longer, maybe it's 5 or 6, but it's not very long.
Well, it was funny for me too, because reading the first issue with Bill Everett, I was like, man, this guy is like the perfect art style for EC Comics, and he never worked there. And then, of course, Wally Wood did quite a bit at EC.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he did the like sci-fi and fantasy books.
Yeah, I'd love to look a little bit deeper, and I'm sure there's some stuff in Marvel The Untold Story, maybe, and I just don't remember right off, because, of course, there's so much information in that, and it's been a while since I've read that. But I'd love to look a little deeper, if there's very much information, on the ins and outs of the early days of this book, because I'd love to know why certain people were only there a couple issues and then decided to jump ship and do other things. Like, Stan Lee mentions that he went after Bill Everett, having not worked with him in years and had kind of lost touch with him, and then got him to do this book. And then after, not very long, he said, I'd rather work on other things. And I didn't look that up. I don't know what he moved to, but he stayed at Marvel. And he went to other books, he just didn't stay on this. So it's like, he comes in and invents this character, like co-invents this character, and then goes, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. And I wonder why that is.
Yeah, that is really strange. That book definitely touches on it, but I don't know if it goes like extensively on it. It's been a while, so I don't remember super well. But I do remember, I think they mentioned that like Bill Everett worked on this, and then Wally Wood takes over.
And we didn't do a ton of background homework for this, because these are about reviewing the stories more than they are the background. But all that stuff is interesting. So anyway,
well, and I think it's funny too that the immediate issue after where we stopped is not only where he first gets the red suit, but also the villain of that issue is Namor, who is also created by Bill Everett.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of amusing. I also
that's the whole reason
through that to see if there was a reason for why his suit changes, and there's not.
No, I think it's just Everett going... Well, Stan Lee addresses it very slightly in that introduction, and he just says, we thought it'd look better in one color. And my guess is Yeah, like like with everything, Stan Lee likes to kind of oversimplify things. I think it's more than it's more than likely that Bill Everett went to Stan Lee after a couple issues and went, I don't know, the yellow's kind of hokey. Like, could we maybe change the color?
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. No, I expected there to be like an origin for it in the book, and instead it's just he's putting on his costume and his dialogue is like, I've been redesigning my costume over the last couple of weeks, and now I've finally cracked out this new one.
Yeah, this being Marvel going for relative realism and trying to be real character driven, it would have been really easy to build in cool story reasons for the slight changes in the costume as it goes along, and they don't really do that. I had forgotten. I guess we could just go ahead and talk about this before we get into the story, but or the stories, I should say, because this is the olden days where you got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you had movie-length comics. They like to say that a lot.
That's one of my favorite things that they do in this era is the big round, almost like sticker on the cover, like a feature length or a movie length story.
It's great. They like to make a big deal out of you're gonna spend your 12 cents and you're gonna feel like you're in a movie theater, and for that time, I mean, they deliver with that, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Exciting, rousing action. They come up with as many outlandish, over the top kind of situations as they can. And in some issues, it's not as exciting. It's a little bit lamer than others. I'm looking at you, Mr. Fear.
Well, and specifically the issue that has the movie length thing is the Owl one.
That's the Owl one,
which has like a big Bond layer.
Yeah,
and,
no,
Daredevil
it's exciting.
And Karen get put into big traps. I'm like, no, you're kind of right.
It'd be fun to go through things like this and try to guess at what the movie budget would cost to adapt it.
Well. Reading that, I was picturing like the cheap B movie, like Roger Corman, Daredevil, making that exact issue.
And then you do that big.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, you do that big owl layer with models or with a matte painting.
Yeah, well, the way it like they show it in the issue makes it feel like a model in a movie, because it's always just kind of just here as a background with it. We don't really. I don't have anyone around it or anything, so it also feels like a model in the issue. Oddly,
it does. It's cool looking. We'll get there in the art. But real quick, I wanted to talk a little bit about the costume changes, because I had forgotten that everybody, of course, talks famously about how Daredevil starts with a yellow costume, and that's kind of hokey because he's working at night, although we get quite a bit of daytime stuff with Daredevil early on, I guess, but the people, of course, like to think of Daredevil starting at Frank Miller and there being kind of nothing before that. So everybody thinks of Daredevil as a gritty, noirish character before he's that. And I should say, the first issue at least establishes him in such a way where it absolutely could have gone more in that direction. I would say, I think his origin is a real pulpy, to some degree anyway, sort of origin, and feels more comparable to a Batman or something. And then immediately after that, it feels a lot more kind of adventure focused. Even with the organized crime stuff that you get, because there's kernels of it, and then looking at it retroactively, you can see how Frank Miller and other writers and artists kind of pulled out things that were just inherently in the material. It was easy to kind of drive it in that direction. But anyway, everybody always thinks about these issues as that's that silly period when Daredevil was in his yellow suit, and then he gets his red suit in issue 7, and that's the suit that he has forever. But what nobody talks about is that there are more than subtle changes to it whenever it comes in issue 5. And I think it's 5, and that's where he adds the second D. Because I sent you a message earlier. I was like, it's so weird we didn't start with that. That we had to think about that. It took a while before we thought, it's Daredevil. It should be 2 Ds. And then when we finally get it, it's hilarious because we'll look at it later. But there's a pinup page that's like, you'll always remember this Double D. And I'm like, yeah, now that you finally thought to do it, like, the issue you throw it in, you're making a big deal out of it. It's hilarious. But he makes these changes where he adds the D. He takes one of the straps off of the leg. I guess when it was initially designed, they felt like it needed two straps to hold the thing onto his leg that holds his billy club, but then later, no, one strap will do. Like, I don't really know why you changed that, but anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, not Everett, Wally Wood. So Everett starts it, and then Wally Wood comes in and makes those changes.
Yeah, well, and he also gets a hood for like an issue or two as well. There's a lot of things in these 6 issues that had me thinking of Iron Man. They're very comparable books, and that's one of the ways in which it's very similar to early Iron Man, is the way that they're just tinkering with the design like a little bit, like kind of issue to issue.
Yeah.
It made me think of when you get the kind of classic red and gold Iron Man suit. He has like horns, and we take away the horns. He's got like a dotted line on the top of his head, and then we take that away, and it's like it's a solid line, and it's like we're just kind of tinkering with it. We don't have the exact design. We know kind of what we want, but like we're just kind of adding and changing things.
Yeah, sorry, Dan.
At least has that story thing.
I meant Wood when I said Everett, and we've got a lot of names bouncing around, and that's who I meant. But yeah, you kind of blew my mind earlier today, Austin, when you sent me a message about that, comparing Daredevil's suit to Iron Man's, and the ways that they evolve, because it never really occurred to me they kind of have the same color scheme initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like one of them starts there and then shifts, and then the other, starts differently and shifts into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the like weird love triangle between Matt, Karen, and Foggy is very similar to Tony, Pepper, and Happy.
Oh, that's true.
And early Iron Man. So it's like a couple things where I'm like, oh, these are very similar books.
Yeah, and it kind of feels copy pasted to some degree.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too the ways in which they're similar and not, because obviously one of them's more, adventure-y, like outside of America and just kind of worldwide, while this is more street level. And like you said, it does. There's like the kernels of the kind of gritty, pulpy crime stuff, but we're also jumping in and out of that. We're kind of weaving around it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like. I guess you could make the argument, and this probably isn't conscious, but I guess you could make the argument that it's kind of taking a little bit from Iron Man, a little bit from Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
Just with some of its storytelling, I guess. I think it has more in common with Spider-Man than anything else at this period, just because it's a singular hero on the streets, dealing with a lot of different kinds of crime, and there's that. I mean, I guess a lot of the Marvel books had this, but there's that kind of unrequited love element to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's really funny because reading the first issue, I was like, so like just coming into this in general, I'm like, okay, I know people always talk about this as very swashbuckly and adventurous, and that's kind of the tone of it. And reading the first issue, I was really surprised because it feels more in line with where it will go eventually, like you said, a minute ago. But obviously not as dark, but like you can see how you get there.
Yeah.
And then issue 2 begins with him taking out like a garage of people that are stealing cars, repainting them and selling them. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this book is just going to feel like this, I guess? Like, it's not as different as I expected. And then 10 pages later, Electro shoots Daredevil into space.
Yes!
Like,
on a rocket?
Okay. This isn't as down to earth as I thought it would be.
I forgot what I was reading for a minute. I was like, now he's in space, and you've got all these planets in the background.
And Daredevil's like, oh, I may be blind, but like my extra senses make it perfect for me to land spacecrafts. I can like perfectly sense how to aim the rocket. That
was fantastic. And then he lands the rocket perfectly, and then wherever he's at, they're angry and they're like, you're not allowed to land that here. And he's like, I'm trying to live.
Well, okay, that scene specifically is like just the power of comics in this period. So Daredevil is launched into space. So Electro, he breaks into the Baxter building and he's like, I'm going to steal stuff. I'm going to steal formulas from the Fantastic Four and sell them to other countries. And then he goes, I'm going to frame Daredevil by putting him in this rocket ship and launching it. And then the FF will think that he stole these and then stole their
Oh,
rocket
that's
ship.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And then,
But
and
he'll
then
actually
Daredevil,
be dead, and they'll never know.
and then Daredevil uses his power of being able to hear real well to land the rocket ship into Central Park, where the cops are like, "Hey, you can't land that here. That can endanger somebody." So Daredevil steals a horse and just rides back to the Baxter building. It's such a weird scene that you can only see in comics. It's kind of beautiful.
You're getting ahead of us, because we'll look at that art a little bit later. I got everything in order.
No, I just had to like really like showcase like this is
Get
how
that out there.
odd and bizarre the sequence is, because it's beautiful.
Yeah, and not to mention stuff like the Matador and just like goofy villains.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk.
One.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
Let's...
No, I'll say what I was going to say when we get to the issue that I was going to say.
Okay,
so,
cool. No
you
problem.
Go ahead.
So I want to get into the origin stuff and how like surprisingly just solid a lot of this was, and how little it's changed since then, both in comics and in adaptation. Because we actually go back to specifically this and don't monkey with it too much both times we adapt it. I thought we could talk a little bit about that, but first I just want to mention, so Austin had never actually read this before, so we're getting his first impressions of it. I read this back in college, Austin, close to 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
I had never gone back and looked at it again, but I remember loving it, and I think I was just in like the perfect mood for it, because it was a few years after the movie, but I was still real into that, and I went back and watched it all the time. I actually think I probably read it shortly after the director's cut came out, or I finally found the director's cut and watched it, and because I actually think that was out a year or two before that, and I just didn't know about it, and then I found it at Walmart, and I was like, what? There's more of this movie, and then, like everyone else, I got to be charmed by the Coolio subplot, but then I found a CD-ROM, Austin, that had because this is I mean, we had like internet at that point, but I wasn't able to it was still like not a lot of Wi-Fi at places, and so I wasn't like connecting up at the college to Wi-Fi. There wasn't really a great way to read digital comics yet, so I had this CD-ROM that had the first 10 issues of, I think, 10 of the Silver Age Marvel books, including Spider-Man and Hulk and Fantastic Four and a number of other things. And I had never read the Daredevils, and so when I was at school just between classes, I was reading that, and I was like listening to the Daredevil soundtrack from the movie, and like you said, just looking at those first couple issues, I was shocked by how like not all that dissimilar it was, and because I was already kind of in that headspace and in that mood, it was kind of easy for me to take that to the rest of it, even though it does get like real out there and kind of silly, but I was like, no, it's Daredevil. And so I have really fond memories of these issues.
One, like, I do think that does in a way carry through all 6 issues. It's just that we're kind of bouncing on it, where we're going back and forth between what could be more street level, like kind of gritty crime stuff, and really out there comic booky things. It's like even in that craziness I just said with the Electro issue, you still have like the garage stuff at the beginning where he's taking out just these people that are repurposing cars.
Yeah, which feels like it could that could almost be right out of the TV show or something.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Or just a scene Frank Miller would do.
Right.
Hmm. No, and that, like I said, that was the biggest surprise to me because I didn't expect to see any of that.
Brayton says I did a vault on this before. Maybe I did. I don't remember that. I didn't think I had read this since then. Maybe I did.
Maybe you just did the first issue. I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe I did this whole book. I don't know. It's possible. I know I read the first 10 back then. This, for whatever reason, collects 11.
Oh, weird.
But it only pictures 9 of them on the back. It only had space for 9.
How embarrassing.
But anyway, I also happen to own, and this is the only issue of these 11 in first printings I have, but I have a Daredevil #2, which is not like in the best of shape, but it's not bad. It's intact. I think it's got decent. I haven't popped this open in a while. I think it's got decent pages. But anyway, this is the Electro issue. And I think I've got quite a bit of early Daredevil. I think I've got at least a couple in the 20s also. I've got more Daredevil than I do any other Silver Age Marvel stuff, because they tend to, partly just because I really like collecting Daredevil. I was looking at this earlier. I have like 2.5 long boxes of Daredevil. Like I have a lot of Daredevil, and it tends to be one of the cheaper books to collect going back that far.
Oh, okay. That's pretty
Just
sweet.
a little less sought after. So I have kicked around trying to go for a complete set, which would be expensive, but not impossible like an Amazing Spider-Man or something. Because obviously there's some issues of that you're just never going to get your hands on. But like particularly one. But I mean, there are some issues that are just hard to get. Like Death of Gwen Stacy isn't unbuyable, but in a decent grade, that's probably still a couple grand. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that in a while. I've never spent that much on a single comic. But anyway, I haven't looked up a Daredevil 1 in a long time, so I'm not sure what it would take to get that even in a lower grade.
People are saying that me describing that scene made it sound like I'm on drugs. All I have to say to that is that issue contains the most the thing is on drugs panel I've ever seen, which is
Yes!
This panel.
It's awesome. He's got his like googly eyes.
I laughed like way too hard when I saw that panel of the thing. It's so weird.
This whole issue is insane. I guess it's fun. This is the one I have because it's so weird.
Well, especially because it's also the main villain is Electro.
Yeah.
Who's like pretty down to earth as well.
Well, you're only in your second issue. And we'll get back to origin stuff here in a second. We're kind of jumping around, but
yeah.
you're only in the second issue, and it's almost like you're underselling your main character and overselling the Marvel Universe, because you've got Electro and you've got the Fantastic Four, and so you've got this like triple crossover in just your second issue, which sort of, like the cover of the first issue, screams, no, really, you'll like this. We are the guys that have made a thing you've liked before.
And then we'll get that really hard in issue 6. Because we have a trio of villains.
Oh,
one
yeah.
Being a new Daredevil villain,
yeah, and then
one
all
being
the
a Spider-Man
and
villain,
then all the wax
one being
statues of every character you've ever seen.
One being a Human Torch villain, and then every Marvel character ever is a wax statue, and that also has one of my favorite lines in this entire 6-issue span, where Mr. Fear is, he's walking around as wax statues, and he's like, okay, I need villains to help me beat Daredevil. I need to look at, or no, just in general, just I need villains, because he's not after Daredevil at that point. But he's like, okay, what villains should I use? Well, Diablo, Doctor Doom, and Kraven are way too powerful for me to, maintain. And I'm like, why those things specifically? Like, Kraven?
Yeah, when you've got Magneto in the background, like...
It's one of those things that's funny going back to this period where we're still building the Marvel Universe, where it's like, okay, who are the big, important, like, game-changing villains? I guess Kraven's one of them.
Yeah, but that also felt like just being random and throwing a D20. Like
Maybe, I don't
even
know.
then, because they had the obvious heavy hit. Like I mean, I guess at least he said Doom.
Hmm.
That's true.
Oh yeah, well yeah,
Like I
you
said,
gotta
it's
say
weird you didn't
Doom.
say Magneto because you have it. If memory serves, isn't there a statue of him there?
There is, because I'd actually forgotten that X-Men precedes this book by a couple months.
Yeah.
But that could just be a case of, that book's just kind of started, like,
Oh yeah,
eh,
that's true. It hasn't gone very
we don't
long.
know how big that's going to be yet.
Well, and they certainly don't know if this is. I mean, they wouldn't know if anything is going to sell, but they're certainly. They don't seem especially confident in this right away.
No.
To my eye, Stan Lee spins it. He even talks about that a little bit in that introduction, and he spins it like we were trying to make it look like Daredevil was A-list enough to go along with those other characters. That like that's the way we did it. So we could say like we're pitching him like he's on that level, and then hopefully he'll live up to that. And I can see the argument for that. But the way it looks is like you're sort of desperate for attention, where it's like we have to put Spider-Man's face on this like no-name character cover. That's kind of what it looks like initially.
Yeah, I think it's just that they protest too much. Like, there are other characters at this
Exactly.
point where at the beginning of their origin, it's like, oh, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, now here's Thor, or, whoever. But then they just go off and they just have their own issue. While here, it's like they kind of keep beating it into you, like, Marvel Universe, like, we're building this. This is, a big thing, which I guess in a way is cool in that we're now a couple years into the Marvel Universe. There is a Marvel Universe. Like, we're now at that point in building it where you kind of can do that.
Yeah,
So in a way, it's almost interesting going, like, as a history thing.
We're like, well, and it might have been exciting for people reading this at the time, right? Like in a microcosmic way, it's like you're introducing second generation heroes now, where you've been
exactly.
you've been around for a while, and you probably have enough to work with now for a whole universe that keeps going in and out of each other. But if you're gonna introduce another street level character in the middle of New York, he's gonna need to meet up with these people because it's not that big of a world.
Well, yeah, it leads to one of my favorite lines too, where Electro is like, Daredevil, you think that you can beat me? I almost defeated Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What can you do against me?
It's great. He's going to have a hard time bragging about anything after he gets beat by what he's treating as a D-list villain. And he doesn't just say, like, I almost beat Spider-Man. He's like, I almost defeated, like, the one and only Spider-Man, like, the most important, biggest, impressive hero. And I'm like, if Daredevil only knew that there's a 15-year-old kid in that suit.
Then it's like, dude, 5 minutes ago you were complaining that he shut down your car hawking garage. Like, you're already kind of a loser.
Yeah, he's in a bit of denial there.
Oh yeah, well that's why he's gonna sell, formulas to foreign nations.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even remember what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, because he opens it up and he goes, I don't know what these mean, but I'm sure foreign countries would want them.
That's right. Oh, yeah, because he's in the Fantastic Four's building. He's in the Baxter building, and he's, like, just stealing stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole thing's fun. Well, I like that it's not just a quick cameo from Thing, that the Fantastic Four's presence is kind of felt through the whole issue. So even though the whole Fantastic Four's not there the whole time, it's bookended with them. So like the Thing gets a cameo, and then all of them do at the end, where Mr. Fantastic is just not impressed with Matt Murdock as a lawyer because he didn't take any time to actually look up his lease because they're wanting him to do to like renegotiate their lease or something for the Baxter building. And so he's like, you suck. I'm going to go find a lawyer that is actually competent. And so it's bookended with them, but like they matter all the way through, which is kind of fun. And then Spider-Man does too, just in that Electro keeps talking about how he almost beat him.
Well, and it's funny because when we do it, it's the thing he like smashes down their door, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know my own strength. I'm the thing." Uh, but in both scenes, the other FF members are with him, so it's like,
Oh, that's right.
why did they send the thing in? It's like that stuff's pretty fun.
Yeah, send Johnny
You can
Storm
tell Stan
in.
was having a good time
He doesn't
scripting that stuff.
He doesn't even want to be in the car.
Mhm. No, he's like, let me fly out of here.
But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the origin, because there's a few things that struck me, things that have stuck around and things that haven't. One thing that I always forget about is that Matt Murdock gets his it has his accident and gets his powers, ironically, in saving a blind man.
Yeah. Well, because I think that's even in the Turtles parody of it is the blind man that he's pushing out of the way.
It is. I always forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind
a
of
fun little irony.
Well, I like the. Well, I mean, I guess this is technically true in all iterations, but I like the kind of paralleling or mirroring. I guess I should say the juxtaposition between his origin and Spider-Man's origin, where his is completely selfless from the start, and the way Spider-Man, I guess, not the way he gets his powers, but the way he kind of gets his mantra and figures out the responsibility thing is through a really selfish act. And so I think it's neat that happens to both of them in different ways because they're both teenagers. But then Daredevil won't actually be a superhero until he's older. So it almost reads like in alternative Spider-Man, like another way Spider-Man could have gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, somebody, I think it was RJ Godzilla. Yes, asked if Stanley was kind of subconsciously or consciously trying to recreate some of that stuff, or is he just unoriginal and derivative? And
yeah, you be the judge, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is just he had to make so many books, so some of them just kind of get pinched out. But
yeah, certainly,
with certain kind of formula stuff, absolutely. But no, they're interesting comparison pieces, which maybe hurts that Daredevil, and just this kind of the thing that he's always had is that he always gets the secondary scraps of Spider-Man villains to fight. And then obviously we do something cool with the Kingpin, but a lot of the times we do just kind of he fights Ox and Electro, I guess, in these 6 issues.
That's true, but in these early issues, we're also inventing some villains. I mean, he gets Purple Man. I always forget that starts as a Daredevil villain. It's weird because I feel like Purple Man shows up in more things that people talk about without Daredevil. Like, I always forget that he's a Daredevil thing in the first place.
Yeah, well, that cover with Purple Man for issue 4, that's one of the main earliest Daredevils covers that I think of, is that one where it's him carrying Karen as they're falling off the roof with Purple Man on the top.
Why does that character show up so much in adaptation in other things outside of Daredevil? Is it just because he has an interesting scary power? Because he's in a Fox X-Men episode. Why is he in that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then he's the main villain for the first season of Jessica Jones. Why does everyone else get Purple Man?
Well, Jessica Jones makes sense because he's the big end villain of Alias. But yeah, I don't know why he's an X-Men.
And
I've
never read that first volume, so I always forget that. I can never remember if they're actually adapting straight from that or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point I should bring that on the show because Alias is great.
I would like to finally read that.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a while, but I should do that at some point.
But yeah, that comparison is kind of fascinating to me, where Spider-Man, Peter Parker starts as a real selfish, immature kid, and I guess because of the kind of down and out, and I mean, both of them have somewhat down and out circumstances, but I guess less so with Peter Parker, like living in the suburbs and stuff, where Matt is raised by a father that's really concerned about making sure that he, gets a good job and goes in the right direction and doesn't have to rely on something like boxing and like any kind of violence. And of course, we always hang on to that, but he's a little bit. His father's a little less flawed in this version than in other things, where like the movie has to make him like a mob enforcer, and he doesn't have that here at all. It's just the fixing, like the being in fights that are fixed thing, and he's naive enough to think that that's not even happening until he knows for sure that it is. So like he's played way more innocent in this. But I was just gonna say the other interesting, cool comparison with him and Spider-Man is Matt actually starts more figured out place, and then seems a little bit more, I don't know if selfish is the right word, but certainly more flawed and like socially manipulative as an adult, where it's like Spider-Man figures out the responsibility thing, and then we see him kind of continue to mature even as he's got a lot of bad luck and he's got to deal with all the consequences of his actions. And Daredevil's almost the opposite of that, where like I don't want to say he's less mature as an adult, but he's certainly more morally ambiguous than Peter Parker is. But he doesn't start from that place, so I think that's interesting.
And it's funny because this is the 60s at 64, but I just kept thinking like you could have adapted this perfectly as like a 70s revenge film at that first issue.
Sure.
Where Matt Murdock's like this good kid, and then this is what happens to his dad, and then he's like, okay, now I'm gonna get my revenge, like down to the point that the Fixer even dies. And I think later on we make it more that Matt does it, and that's like part of why he doesn't kill. Like I think that's a thing we add to it later.
Oh, okay.
Here he just has a heart attack.
Is that?
I think I could be wrong.
Is that something Miller brought to it, or somebody before that, or?
Oh, I can't. It might be something Miller brings. It's at least not in his main run, so maybe it's somebody else, or maybe it's in Man of Fear. I don't remember. It's been too long since I've read some of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like they add that to that later.
Sorry, there's another direction I wanted to take that. I'm forgetting what we were talking about right before you said that.
You wanted to talk about the Sea Train, because we also bring it there.
Yeah, that comes in. No, there's a lot of movie stuff. It kind of, that movie in some ways feels like it's just an adaptation of that first issue, and then goes in and grabs the big Miller stuff to throw on top of it. Because I was shocked. He fights the Fixer in a train station, and a train shows up, and it shows up after he's already beaten him. Like, I was waiting for a train to show up and like run him down or almost run him down, and then that doesn't happen.
I kept thinking, because there's two guys. There's the Fixer, and there's his henchman, the one that actually killed. He's just battling Murdock in this. He's not Jack Murdock.
Is he not called? No, I thought he was Jack battling. I thought Jack came up. Is it not?
I could be wrong. I didn't think it did.
I'll check.
I might be wrong.
I thought it was battling Jack Murdock.
I thought he was just always referred to as battling Murdock in the issue, but I could be wrong. They might call him Jack at some point.
Yeah.
But there's like
when he's first introduced, he doesn't have Jack. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, they just keep calling him battling, but it might show up somewhere. Like maybe somebody says it at some point.
Interesting. Okay.
But he's, they kind of split off, and he throws his billy club and he hits one of them, and I was like, oh, is he gonna fall onto the train tracks? Now that's like a thing.
Yeah.
And then you have another really bizarre moment where he goes, oh, the fixer's getting away. Like, I'm gonna have to, do something to catch up to him. This trash can is what I need. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna, turn around and he's gonna throw it at him. He's gonna hit him in the back. And then the next panel is him like rolling on it, where he's standing on the bin as it's rolling to catch up to him. It's so weird.
That feels like a 90s animated Spider-Man gag.
Yeah, and I'm like, the rest of this issue has been so serious, and then that happened. And I mean, Daredevil quips like Spider-Man when he's in costume,
Somebody's
even in that issue.
That in the comments, yeah. That's true.
Which is kind of a Stan Lee thing. Like, Stan Lee does kind of just have his characters quip, and then it like really stuck with Spider-Man, and then everyone else kind of bleeds away as time goes on.
Yeah, and so we kind of almost overemphasized the quippiness of Spider-Man because that's just how Stan Lee wrote. And then, but as you say, other writers just didn't do that as much with the other characters, and that became a staple of Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, maybe you get it less with Bruce Banner.
Well, that's because Hulk, in early Hulk, he just whines all day. He just walks around being like, "Oh, everybody's mean to me." Oh,
that's true. But yeah, I wanted to mention other interesting things with that movie, because I don't know if I'd had this thought before, because I've talked about some of these movies in so many different videos and streams that I'm always worried I'm going to go, I've never had this thought, and then you'll be able to go back and see me say it three other times in other places. But it occurs to me that they did the thing with the Kingpin in that movie that we did with the Joker, where we've got to kind of simplify everything to make a singular story. So we make the Kingpin responsible for Matt's father's death, and so we just kind of amalgamize a couple of characters, and like the Kingpin is the Fixer now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the only big difference with that is we actually leave him alive at the end, which seemed really surprising at the time, because it seems so much like a Joker situation. It's kind of crazy that he's allowed to be alive at the end. But it is kind of like that, where it's like we have to take his main, and like there's a couple of villains that you could argue are Daredevil's biggest arch nemesis, which is why they're both in that movie. With Kingpin and Bullseye, but if arguably Kingpin is that, we gotta go, well, he's gotta be the catalyst for Matt Murdock's tragic backstory, so that when he tries to get his revenge, he can go, it can be like the main villain that he's been fighting the whole movie. And we do the same thing with Batman and the Joker. It works better with Kingpin, you know, obviously, especially because that's already that archetype.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in a way. It almost feels like it's begging for a Kingpin that it just doesn't have yet. Because you kind of have...
It does, because you've got it with the Owl, too.
That's what I was going to say, as the Fixer and the Owl. And obviously the Owl is a big Daredevil villain. Like, not to downplay him, is, a big part of his rogues gallery. But just the way they present both of those characters, it does feel like the big person, at the head of the mob or organized crime. Well, and specifically with the Owl, there's even a line about oh, he's going to take over all of organized crime.
He's going to take over all organized crime. He's introduced kind of in the shadows, and he ends up being kind of silly once we get to know him, and he's kind of an idiot. He's sort of a doofus, because he outs himself really, really easily, where it's I couldn't even figure out why he did it, where it's oh, everyone knows that I've been pretending to be straight this whole time. He's kind of like a penguin type. And then he goes, well, they've all figured me out, so I'm outed now, so I guess I'll just, keep talking about myself like a criminal. And I'm like, I don't know that you had to do that. But when he's introduced, He's kind of in shadows and silhouette, and they're like, people are afraid to say his name, it's that kind of thing. So it's like, oh, we have a Kingpin type immediately, even after the Fixer.
Hmm. No, the Owl is maybe the worst master planner of all time, in that he walks in and he's like, just so you know, I've framed you for this crime that I did.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna get away with it. And then that guy just dies and he's immediately arrested for it. And he's like, you know what? You can't prove I did anything. Get me a lawyer and it'll prove it. So Matt comes on to the case because he wants to know more about the Owl, and he's like, okay, you can't hold this guy, like we can start whatever meeting tomorrow. And they're like, okay, he can leave. And the Owl's like, haha, I'm just not coming back. And then and then at the end, when the police are raiding his big owl fortress,
But explain to
he
me how
goes,
he's outed as a criminal through all of that.
because he killed that guy and like immediately ran away. So
But there
everybody
was
knows
no
that he did it.
evidence, and couldn't he have just as easily said it was a suicide? I didn't understand why that idea was never pitched. Because he sets that guy up for a fall. He frames him for tax fraud, and then the very next thing that happens is he falls off a roof.
Yeah.
And it would have been really easy for the Owl to just say it was suicide, although then he would almost have to out himself in explaining the motivation for the suicide, which is that he framed him. That it was, I was going to say blackmail. It's not, it's just straight up framing, because he was going to go to prison. That's what I thought happened at first. It's like, oh, he just threw himself off the roof and he didn't want to go to prison.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first as well. The dock next to his house, like that was his big, like, haha, you never would have thought I would have had that planned.
Sorry,
And
Austin,
goes,
we lost your audio for a second.
Oh, okay. No worries, no worries. So when the police are raiding his big owl base, he goes, haha, I am so smart and I've thought of everything. You never would have thought that I would have thought of this. And then he just flies down to a dock in the water next to his house where he has a boat. Like, that's some ingenious idea that he's had this whole time. And then he goes, as long as I have the ability to fly, I'll never be caught.
Yeah.
He drives away on his boat. It's so weird.
Yeah, and then at the end, he goes into the water, and Daredevil's like, well, he might have survived. There's no way I can find him now, and so obviously we'll bring him back later. But I can't decide if he's supposed to be like a real conniving, cool, competent villain, or if he's an idiot that's real full of himself and has a lot of is like overconfident. Like I couldn't decide how what the issue thought of the Owl.
So I think he's supposed to be this really smart, like Moriarty type, but it like kind of gets lost in the shuffle of being Marvel Method, and was probably like the 8th book Stanley had to script that day, so it just kind of ends up muddled in the end and really weird.
Maybe so. Yeah,
that's kind of the sense I got. But...
Well, that's where you don't want to overthink it too much, because you can often tell when the writing is kind of rushed for time.
Yeah, and that's something.
So it's not always as much about, like, I mean, they're doing their best, but it's not always as much about telling a super thoughtful story as it is do the best you can for a deadline and hope it kind of makes sense. And that is one of those issues. Yeah. And it's fun. I like that one a lot. But the Owl is a little inconsistent in his characterization, I felt like.
No, absolutely. No, and part of my interest with early Marvel and all the different books, even when I don't think they work great, is when you can tell which books were the ones that Stanley was kind of struggling to get out that month. Because sometimes you can really tell which ones he was more interested in.
Well, and Daredevil coming a couple years in, and they've already got a big stable. Kind of reads like Stan Lee had this, and I don't know if this is true. This is just how it reads to me. Like Stan Lee had what he felt like was this epiphany about a handicapped superhero, a blind superhero. It's like, I've got to get that on the stands. It's such a brilliant idea. And then they got the first issue out, and then they went, okay, now it's a series. We're doing so much. Like, it reads overextended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he looks like me trying to put out content when he gets into the third or fourth issue of this series.
When I've always said, like, you know, Spider-Man and FF are the real books that are very true and dear to his heart, and then Thor gets there eventually, but it doesn't start that way. And then everything else just kind of, like, maybe he's more interested this issue, maybe he's not. They will be perfected by other people later on.
Yeah, this it feels a lot more like a concept for him. He just loves that idea.
Yeah.
Because you never hear Stan Lee talk that much about the characters and mythology of Daredevil as much as he just talks about the initial premise. Where he really likes to talk about, and even in the letter he wrote for this, he really likes to talk about all the letters that he got from handicapped people that felt represented and like they got something out of that character, and he has every reason to be proud about that, but it just seems like he's more interested in the idea than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he's awesome and we love him, but like Purple Man's kind of a good example of that, of who's going to be the villain this month. I don't know, he's purple and he can tell you what to do. Like, I don't know. He's Purple Man, who has the most half-assed origin I've ever seen.
Yeah, we'll get there. No, absolutely he does. So you're not immediately impressed with Daredevil's initial Rogues Gallery?
Well, okay, that's the thing though, is I like that issue a lot, and I think Purple, like, Kilgrave's really cool in it.
Yeah.
But like, when you break down, like, okay, who's gonna be the villain of this month? Purple Man, and like, he's a guy, he's purple, and he tells you what to do.
Well, yeah.
It's like,
why is he purple?
I can see, like, what is the correlation between these things? These ideas?
There's no correlation at all.
I can picture that meeting in that, you know, in the office, in Marvel's office, where Stan Lee was like, okay, this is, I don't know, I'm looking around the room, like, what are we gonna do for this month? There's like a purple sign over there. Okay, we have Purple Man.
Well, and to be kind of charitable for a second, though, don't you feel like it's challenging after you've done a bunch of Spider-Man rogues to then have another street-level character playing in the same sandbox that has to have his own rogues gallery that would be some of the same sort of characters that would live there and that might fight Spider-Man, but happen to fight Daredevil instead of Spider-Man, and not make them look like leftovers, like of his rogue. It's like, we've got the Vulture, now we've got the Owl. How do we make him different from the Vulture? And I mean, he's not a lot like the Vulture. He is more of that crime kingpin sort of character. But still, you immediately, if you're a kid reading this in 1964, and you've been reading Spider-Man, you see that character, instantly you got to be thinking, oh, let's just knock off Vulture.
Mm-hmm. Because he's even green.
He's green.
And he's got like
he hovers on the wind currents. I mean...
And all I could think of with that is Stan Lee complaining about Superman and how he flies like this and there's no means of propulsion. And I'm like, what about the owl, Stan?
Well, he sort of explains it, but not really. I couldn't decide if, because he keeps talking about himself like he's got powers, and I was like, are you just being real, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but like, are you just trying to impress your minions and act like you're more impressive than you are, and it's just technology you have in a coat? I'm not totally sure.
No, I think he just has powers. Like, I think he can just fly.
He actually has powers. Okay.
But
because I thought he was trying
in...
to seem mystical. Because I mean,
no, I think he can just fly.
Because he does talk himself up a lot, like throughout it. That's kind of his main ability. His big thing is to be able to manipulate people, and so I thought maybe that's what he was doing at first. I wasn't sure.
One, he brings in his two henchmen. I forget it's Sad Sims and somebody else. I can't remember the other guy. The other guy's thing is he beat up a gorilla. But Sad Sims, my new headcanon, is Bullseye, because his whole thing is he can like shoot a gun and get like dead on perfect aim. Like he shoots like into the gun that the owl has, and Bullseye doesn't have a name, so from now on I'm gonna say that they're the same character.
That's hilarious. Because we don't get Bullseye until well over a decade after this.
And I was shocked. I assumed he would be, maybe not in these issues we're reading, but I assumed he would be early, because just that gimmick feels like a very 60s kind of thing to me.
That was a thing I knew, and I always thought that was strange, is that he came so much later.
Yeah, I was saying to Dan earlier today, like, it's kind of weird when you think about it that like 3 of the main Daredevil villains that like people tend to think of all come out over a decade, if not more, later, where you have that with Bullseye. Kingpin obviously is created in the 60s, but doesn't go over to Daredevil until the 80s. And Typhoid Mary as well is also 80s.
Well, it's kind of like X-Men in that way. Like, you know, obviously you got Magneto early on, like some of the bigger X-Men villains and X-Men characters come early, but much of the real big stuff is Claremont later, and you kind of have that with Miller. Like, if he's not inventing characters, he's certainly refining them.
Yeah, especially with the heroes for X-Men. The big ones you get early with X-Men for villains are just, like Magneto, Blob, the Sentinels, Master Mold, like all that stuff.
I want to read a couple comments real quick.
Yeah.
Where is it? So we've gotten quite a few things since the last thing I wanted to read, because I didn't get a chance to get to that. Braden Atkinson was Stiltman in this. He's a little bit after the issues we read. It honestly kind of makes more sense to talk about the first 10 or 11 altogether, but just for the sake of time, and because I thought it would be kind of fun just to focus on the yellow costume stuff, we did it this way. But I can't remember if Stiltman is in those first 10, but he's pretty early.
I think he is.
I thought so.
Yeah, he's definitely early on, if not in the first 10.
RJ Godzilla in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. The Purple Man shows up in season 2 in an episode titled Emperor Stark, and is voiced by Brent Spiner. That's good casting. I've not seen that. But again, he's in all this not Daredevil stuff.
That's because Daredevil keeps not getting shows.
Yeah, no, that's true. But we're not doing it with. But we're not doing it with a lot of Daredevil's other rogues, which suggests that, and it's now, to be fair, with the exception of X-Men, I guess it's happening more after he got kind of popular again in comics later with Bendis. Since we were talking about Alias, because I just momentarily forgot that he really was the villain there too. Because again, I've never read that stuff. Yeah. But still, I just think it's funny that like we're not doing that with very many other of the characters that we invented specifically for Daredevil. It's kind of like the Clock King thing.
Well, Cap, I don't think you understand, like, what Bullseye, like, what, he throws something at you, like Typhoid Mary, she's crazy. Purple Man is purple, okay?
Well, the thing is,
he is a purple man.
If you think about his ability for 5 seconds, it is as scary as the Jessica Jones show played it, and even in his issue in this, there's whiffs of that.
There absolutely is.
Where it's like, wow, that's terrifying. And that might be the reason we keep going to him and other stuff, is just because that's a hard power to get around. It's both scary and hilarious in this, because it's got my favorite moment maybe in all 6 of these, where Matt's looking through law books and he goes, this guy hasn't done anything wrong. Like, there's no law against asking people to do things and then they do them. I don't know. I have no proof. I have no proof that he's coercing people. Did he rob a bank of his own accord, or did he have other people do it though?
No, that's the first thing he does. He walks into a bank and he's like, "Give me all this money," right. And they're like, "Okay, here you go." So
now, I do feel like though you would, even if he did that, even if he did just walk up to people and say, "Would you rob this bank for me?" and they did, I feel like that's illegal. Like, they would go to jail, but so would you, because you were the mastermind of the thing. So you would have...
Yeah, no, exactly.
Now, maybe you'd have a hard time proving it, except he has to be within very close proximity of them to be able to coerce them. And so your evidence would be, he's always there when these things happen.
No, and as much as I'm kind of laughing at just the inception of Purple Man, because I think it's amusing.
No, it is funny.
That is a really good issue, and they do a good job with his powers, I thought.
No, it's probably...
like you said, it gets silly in places, like, he gets an army of buff men that are all wearing Speedos, like, tough guy, muscular, like, men's, like, that kind of, like, I don't know if you would exactly call it Speedos, but, like, the bodybuilder look, right?
Yeah.
They all have those kind of outfits. And he's like, okay, we're all gonna go hang out at this hotel. None of you are gonna put clothes on. You're just all gonna continue to just wear those as we walk around this hotel.
Forgot about that.
Like, some of that's silly, but especially the way that he, makes crowds attack Daredevil, or when he tells Karen, to stand on at the edge of the roof and then jump off when I tell you to.
That's the big one.
Like,
where I was going,
scary.
Oh, like, that's in Jessica Jones. I mean, not that they got it from that necessarily, but just...
No, they could have.
You've already got whiffs of how scary that character is, like how vulnerable you would be, particularly how screwed up it is when he starts going after attractive women. And can just make them do anything he wants them to. My only beef with the way it's handled is when it happens. I wish there was an issue or two in between the two Karen gets kidnapped plots.
That's fair.
Because they're right next to each other. She's not full on kidnapped by Purple Man, but like, through the persuasion power, she might as well be. And so the end of the 3rd issue, the owls got her in a cage. It's funny, by the way, I just remembered this, that he feels the need to tie Daredevil's hands, but not hers. And then in the 4th issue, he's got her sort of kidnapped by Purple Man. And I'm like, put some distance, but because it's the only 2 places that happens, I think.
Well, yeah, it is, because you get Foggy in the action in the last issue, but with her, it's specifically just those 2. And Purple Man's like, "Oh, Karen, you're gonna be my assistant and write my biography." The only thing with Purple Man, and I mean, I don't know, it's 60s comics, it's whatever. They're not super consistent with his power. Where, like, he'll say something and I'm like, that should be a command.
Yeah.
But you just weren't thinking about it.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, you're right about that. That's totally fair.
But that's like whatever. Reading it, I was like, this must have blown some kids' minds reading this issue at the time. Like, especially when you get the crowds, like trampling Daredevil, where they're like, "Oh, we all got to kill him." That must have been like really scary as a kid, where it's like, oh, like how can he even beat this person? This is crazy.
The stakes definitely feel highest in that issue.
Mhm.
And it feel like with pretty much every other villain, I don't find myself wondering that hard how Daredevil's going to get out of it. I feel like Stan Lee is almost relying too much on the idea that blindness is a handicap. Just in selling it to the audience, right? Where he's constantly going, he's got to beat us over the head all the time with how his powers work, and that his other senses compensate. But he's got to meticulously in every scene tell us exactly how Daredevil is perceiving what's happening around him and able to deal with it without sight, as if just the fact that he can't see is going to make us always shocked and dismayed that he's able to accomplish anything.
Mm-hmm. When Stanley in general, with captions especially, is like bad for that in general with his characters. You definitely have a lot of that with just specifically like, well, he's blind. You know how this is how he's doing it. This is whatever, which is maybe a little unfortunate because issue 1. You have it's something like maybe like the first 5 or 6 pages. There's no captions. And I'm like, oh, this is really weird for Stan Lee. And then
it felt almost ahead
even
of its time.
Yeah, it's almost ahead of its time. And then when it brings it in, a couple pages in, it's still very minimal. And then everything after that is just like typical Stan Lee 60s writing. But the first issue, he's almost kind of writing it differently too, where it's not as in your face with some of that stuff. Like I said, it goes into it a little bit as it goes along, but not to the same degree that he normally does for this early stuff.
Yeah, you wish we could stick with more of that. You wish we could just take some of those thought balloons out, because I don't think it needs a lot of it. And of course, I'm not complaining. I don't want to complain too hard about overwriting, because that was how a lot of these books were done at that point, and that was Stan Lee's kind of MO. And they're charming, and there's a lot of fun, clever things in them. But I guess the only point I was making with that is, again, just that because he's constantly beating us over the head with perception, it makes me wonder if we're not supposed to be more surprised when Daredevil gets out of things, where I'm like, well, no, you've set him up so that and you keep even saying it, that he can almost quote-unquote see better than a regular person in certain circumstances. And so I'm never really, even when he's on the rocket and stuff, I'm never really thinking that hard about, oh god, a blind man is in this situation, how's he going to get out of it? But then with Purple Man, for whatever reason, it feels harder to deal with. And like his answer to it by the end is just put a big sheet over him.
That's the funniest thing is, like you said, that has the biggest stakes to some degree, because you're like, how is he going to win? And then it also is the funniest wrap-up where he just throws a blanket on him.
And I like how I like the kind of juxtaposition of he is helpless, or he's seemingly helpless in the situation because his foes can be every single person around him if Purple Man can persuade them. But he's the only person that's immune to it. And so then you're almost in like a they live kind of situation or something. Mm-hmm. Where it's like you're the only one that knows, and that by itself can be kind of scary, because like you don't have any help. Like there's nobody that can do anything for you.
Well, that's like I can't remember what issue number it is, but it's the Amazing Spider-Man issue with the circus, where the ringmaster, turns everybody, including Spider-Man, in the circus. And that's the big Daredevil crossover issue early on. And Daredevil's the only one because he can't see the ringmaster's like hypnotism thing. And like we're kind of dealing with that there too. It reminded me a bit of that.
I forgot about that.
That's a really fun issue.
Did I miss it, or am I right that there's not really an explanation as to why Daredevil's not affected by him. Like, I'm assuming that his power must have something to do with sight, but I don't think we're told that.
So I could be wrong, but I think it's supposed to be whatever that blanket he throws on him is made out of, and maybe that's like also what his suit is made out of.
Oh,
Because he has issues when he's Matt Murdock, but then when he's Daredevil, he's fine. So I thought maybe it had something to do with that.
maybe so. I missed that if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. But I could be wrong. I don't know. It was I wasn't entirely sure.
I just felt like that could have used a little bit of explanation.
Mm. No, that's fair.
How do you feel about just getting a little bit broader? Because you did mention the weird love triangle, like it's kind of like Iron Man. How do you feel about the soap opera element of this, and that we're just kind of in a holding pattern with it for a long time?
It gave me, like I said, it gave me major flashbacks to reading early Iron Man, where like almost every issue, it's like maybe not as hardcore. Like we kind of jump in and out of it, but it's like, oh, I love Karen, but I can't be with her because I have to be lonely forever. I'm Daredevil. Oh, but Foggy loves her too, and he's definitely going to get the girl at the end of the day. If only she also loved me, but it won't work. And then we cut to the main woman, and she's like, "Oh, I like Foggy, but I love Matt." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've read all of these scenes before."
And why can't he notice that I care about him, and why doesn't he care? And he's trying to play kind of a Shakespearean comedy out of it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's supposed to be
there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be both dramatic and amusing because he doesn't know that she knows that he knows that he doesn't know that she doesn't know.
It is funny that Foggy Nelson goes out and buys an engagement ring when he's known her for like 2 hours.
Yeah, they're not
That's
even
funny.
exactly dating.
No, they do go to a costume party, I guess.
Well, they go to a costume party that he was going to have to be late for, and so he asked Matt to take her first, and Matt doesn't get a costume, and they're just driving there, and she's like, I can stop and get you a costume. He's like, no, that's fine. So they just go to this big costume party. And then the villain of that issue, the Matador, is just hanging out there in his Matador costume, going, I can go steal things at this party, and no one will know, because it's a costume party.
Yeah, which has one of the best scenes of these 6 issues, where they're at this party and Matt goes, "Wait a minute, the Matador is right over there, and he's breaking into the safe in the middle of this party, and nobody notices because it's a costume party, so they're not going to think twice."
His solution with that is the best.
Yeah, he goes, "But I can't let anybody know that like I'm on to him, so I have to figure out another way." So just in the middle of this party, he goes, "Wow, could you imagine if the Matador were here and would break into the safe? Because he could totally do that." And Karen goes, "Why would you say that?"
And then somebody goes, "Hey,
around
wait a
him
minute!
is like,
The Matador he's right over there!"
"Oh, wait a minute, he is breaking into the safe." But then,
It's so good.
Karen goes, "Oh no, there's a supervillain here, Matt. Here, hide in this closet." And she pushes him into a closet, and he goes, "Are you coming in with me?" And she goes, "No, I want to see what happens." It's like the worst excuse to get Matt off on his own so he can become Daredevil.
You do have, though, like I said, the initial kernels of that kind of moral ambiguity with Matt Murdock, where he wants to be a loyal friend, but he kind of keeps his friends at arm's length and like keeps a lot of things from them and kind of uses them in certain circumstances. Like, all of that is kind of the seeds of that are there, and we're not.
Same with the seeds of him being bad at keeping his identity is here too.
Yeah.
Where you have that bit where he's like, oh, he's in the Daredevil costume, and he's like, Karen, get out of here, and she's like, wait a minute, like, how do you even know my name? I was
Right.
kind of surprised that we went to that place, this early. That was cool.
And again, some of those things don't feel especially conscious yet, and it's like later writers are looking back at this and finding things they can kind of draw to the fore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that
Yeah.
we're looking at just how like deeply flawed Matt is because of his like worldview and philosophy, in like he's blind and he's kind of just jumping into situations feet first, and he's the man without fear, and that translates to his social life in negative ways. Like, I'm not seeing the connective tissue yet with some of those things, but they're there. We just haven't connected them. The biggest surprise I had going back to these, Austin, because I had forgotten about this, is that at no point is the idea of blind justice brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is never talked about.
Funny.
And you could say, well, that's just a thing that writers bring to it later, but that's the obvious reason to make him a lawyer. Like, Stan Lee had to have been thinking about that. You've got the blind woman with the scale of, or the woman with the blindfold and the scales of justice. Like, that's why you make him a lawyer in the first place. It's just thematically inherent to the idea, and it's not talked about. And I guess it's kind of neat if we're playing that sort of subtle, where it's just an idea that's there and he doesn't feel. But Stan Lee's not a subtle guy. Like, it's kind of surprising that that's never mentioned. And another thing that I was surprised by is the radar sense is not dealt with the same way it is later, where we'll kind of get panels where we see the way Matt sees things and we actually, like, literally visualize it. But then we do refer to it as radar sense, but you don't see, like, a radar vision. I was surprised by that, because I was thinking, oh, they haven't come up with a radar sense idea yet. And then they say it, and then once Wally Wood comes on, he's got one panel where he sort of does it. Where he goes...
Yeah, where
he goes, it's almost like a textbook drawing where he's like a diagram where he's like, okay, here's what it's like for Matt in a room with no commotion. I was
thinking of like an old school video game, which is like the keyframe.
Oh yeah, where the sound bounces off the wall, comes back to him, and then he can kind of create a picture of what's happening in his mind in the room, and then it gives us another figure. It's like, see figure A, see figure 2, or figure B, and then the next figure is, this is a room with lots of commotion, and then it distorts his vision. And I'm like, there are a couple of things that Wally Wood comes in and goes, why the hell wasn't this here?
Well, and that I was kind of expecting, because you see that with some of these characters, like Spider-Man's Spider Sense kind of has that early on, where it's like you don't really know what this is, and like issue to issue, you're kind of making new rules. Like there's the Doctor Doom issue. I think it's 4,
4 or 5. Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those two. Yeah, it might be 5 actually, now that you say that. But Doctor Doom like calls him on his spider sense, and it's like, I don't think we would ever do that now.
Well, that was another thing that he and Daredevil sort of have in common. That they've got that kind of extra sense, that like different way of looking at things. And I kept finding myself reminded of Spider Sense the way we were dealing with that, because there are places where, and this was goofy, and I'm glad that we drop it later. There are places where Daredevil, like, can almost read minds. Did you notice that? where there's places where, like, because of the way a person is acting or something, Daredevil's able to picture things in his mind about them he can't possibly know, and I'm like, that's going too far. Also, speed reading just because of raised print is also ridiculous and going too far. But, there's a few things like that.
Though.
I don't know that it sticks that he can read faster because of it.
I don't know.
Because there's a place in this where he's just rolling through, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I feel like it would take
Frank
longer.
Miller does that.
Does he?
I think so.
Okay, that's funny.
He at least does the, like, oh, I can read this because of raised printing thing, but I think he also might say that he reads it faster.
Oh, real quick, the other thing that was kind of disappointing to me, going along with the how do we not bring up the Blind Justice thing, is 6 issues, and I don't know that you get it in the first 11. In 6 issues, there's no courtroom drama whatsoever. Like, there's no lawyer stuff, really. The only time you get lawyer stuff is when Matt Murdock is intentionally throwing his own credibility under the bus in order to get something done as Daredevil. Because he does that frequently.
Well, it's interesting,
that's very Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. It's interesting because we are trying to tie some of the stuff into, well, he's a lawyer, but, like, also not really doing the courtroom thing.
Yeah.
The Owl is the closest, but he skipped town.
Yeah, because the Owl tried to actually hire him as a lawyer.
Yeah, and that's how Purple Man starts, is he hires him as a lawyer, and then he just walks out of prison because he can.
In fact, in the early days...
We're sort of tying it in, just not going all the way with that.
Yeah, we just don't go very far with it yet. It just surprised... surprised that in half a year of the first Daredevil comics, he's never in a courtroom.
Yeah, I think there's... The closest you get is when the Owl leaves, and there's the shot of him talking to the judge. That's, like, the closest there is.
It's one panel.
But I think it's just, like, the judge in an office. Like, I don't even think it's in a courtroom.
Yeah. So
Foggy is apparently doing stuff, because there's a couple scenes where he's like, oh, I'm so busy with these other legal things I'm doing.
I also thought it was really funny that in the first 6 issues, you already have, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6, I think it's 6, you already have Foggy hurt real bad in a hospital room, and I feel like that happens a lot in Daredevil comics. I feel like I feel like I see Foggy in hospital rooms all the time.
I think it's why people cried foul with the Born Again thing, and like in the TV show, where it's like, no, you injure Foggy. That's all that ever happens to Foggy. He's constantly injured.
Yeah, and then it's often Daredevil's fault.
Yeah, well, of course.
And then once
time, though, it is Foggy's fault. Foggy's a giant moron in that issue.
Remind me what he did. I can't remember.
So they're in the wax museum, and Ox is like, he's there, he's watching to see if Daredevil shows up.
Oh, sorry, real quick. I'm showing that pin up on the screen right now. It's like, rapidly becoming 2 of the world's most famous initials. You just did that! This issue! No, it's not!
It's rapidly becoming the most famous initials off of that issue.
I feel like, you know how we get a lot of big posters of comic covers and like major interiors. I feel like that's a thing that Marvel should print in a big poster. Is that pinup? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Issue 7, I should say. Like I said, I flipped through it after I was done reading this. Has a really funny pinup at the end of that issue, which is, it's like Namor standing there, and then Daredevil laying on the ground next to him in like a really sultry position. And it's like, why is he posed like that for this pinup?
I missed that. I gotta find that. That's weird.
That was a choice.
What did you think of Mr. Fear? Because there's a couple of villains in this that, to me, I just feel like really derivative of other villains, and I found myself going, okay, how early is Scarecrow Fear Toxin?
When Fear Toxin, I think goes back to Hugo Strange even.
That's
so
what
it even goes back further than that.
Okay, I didn't realize it was connected to Hugo Strange, but I thought it went back further than the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. No, I think what helps is that it's like a fear toxin thing that he shoots out of his gun, but he also has the wax museum thing, which, while also like kind of been there, done that, was like it was a neat location.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
so
it's funny because it does it 2 years before the 60s Batman show does it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and the 60s Spider-Man show, that's one of my favorite episodes, is the Wax Museum episode.
See, I wasn't around in the 60s, but I get the sense that people went to wax museums all the time because they just show up in everything.
It's like the only thing to do, yeah. It's like, oh, it's Friday night, we can either kill ourselves or go to a wax museum, so I guess we're doing that.
What are we gonna do? Here's that pinup that Austin was talking about with Namor.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know.
You think he's being sultry?
He's got like a bit of a sultry thing going on. I think maybe it's added to the fact that Namor is a man in underwear and nothing else.
Sure.
He's got like I don't know.
Looks like he's being more of just a ass face for not going and helping Daredevil up. Daredevil's like, help me up! And he's like, no, I'm walking away. Screw you.
I have wings on my feet. I do not help anyone up.
Yeah, deal with it.
I was also created by Bill Everett. Goodbye.
It's interesting that these pinups, because I don't remember these showing up in a lot of other things I've read. There's 2 in a row.
They come up a lot in Spider-Man.
Do they?
Yeah. They do a ton of them at the end of the first annual.
Are they called Marvel Masterworks there too?
No, I don't. Maybe. I don't think so.
Because it's kind of interesting that they have those on these pinups, and then this reprint series is called Marvel Masterworks. Mm-hmm. Like that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. They have synergy with that, Austin.
Yeah, I thought they were just called Marvel pinups, but I don't know.
Oh, and I also forgot that there's this kind of, I can't even call it a subplot, but this running idea that Matt could maybe be cured of his blindness but doesn't want to.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. That comes up in issue 2. I was like, oh, that's weird for a book that was like, oh, the first blind superhero, issue 2. There's this doctor that has a cure for blindness, Matt. You don't have to be blind anymore.
You don't have to be blind anymore.
And he's like, but if I'm not blind, I can't be Daredevil.
I may not have my powers. Okay, sorry. Jumping around again, but this is a question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you feel, and again, I don't want to overthink things too much because I'm not sure how much Stanley is thinking about this, but going back to the origin for a second, there's a wrinkle in this that we don't have in a lot of adaptation, where we go, his father. Well, I guess we do say in the movie and stuff that like his father doesn't want him to make a living fighting. He wants him to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something. But in this, it's more explicit in his father saying, I don't want you to engage in violence at all. Like, Matt promises him that he will not live a violent life. And then he basically comes up with his vigilante persona as just a cheat to get around that. Where he goes, well, I'm not doing it, Daredevil is. And I'm like, I don't know how to think about that. Like, that gets, weird way more into that like Matt Murdock, Moral Ambiguity, where he's almost deceiving his father in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way
Well,
he
he's not
deceives all
doing
of
that.
his
Daredevil.
yeah, in the same way he deceives his friends in order to be Daredevil. And I don't know. I don't know how to think about them or how to feel about them.
Well, that's what his dad gets for being way too intense and being like, "You can't go outside, boy. Go into your room and read." And
You'll
Matt's like,
thank
"I
me
just
when
want to
you're
go."
older.
He's like, "All the kids outside are Indian wrestling. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I gotta read."
But they
Which
sure
is
like the word
actual dialogue.
they sure
It's
like the
really
word
funny.
wrestling in this book. It comes up 2 or 3 times.
Well, it's specifically he looks at the window and there's just people like just grabbing at each other, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, they're Indian wrestling."
That looks like fun.
Okay.
I wish I could do that.
They got into some weird activities in the 50s.
But yeah, that just
We
seemed
have a
like
specific age for Matt too, which I was surprised by. He's 22.
yeah, and we put it in we put his origin on a particular date. We say it's 1950.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So but yeah, I wasn't sure how to feel about the mental gymnastics.
Mm-hmm. No,
I felt
it
like
is very silly.
I felt like it would almost be better if he just said, "Okay, look, Dad, I know I made you this promise, but avenging your death is more important." Like I said that before I realized that violence is sometimes necessary, and then you could put it in a kind of gray area that a reader would understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, especially because he is still holding up that line.
That's relatable.
Mm-hmm. Especially because he is still holding up that line where he's like, "Well, I am a lawyer."
Yeah. Well, and the lawyer thing, in this so far, kind of reads like it's just an excuse to, like it's just a front for Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does have that so far.
Like Matt
part of
later
that is
on
just,
will seem much more impassioned about the law, and in this it feels like just we need a cool job that we haven't had a superhero have before.
Mm-hmm. When especially, you go back to some of those issues where it is more talky, and Stan Lee in captions is like, "I'm sorry, kids, like we are getting to the action. Don't worry, we're getting there." Like,
Yeah.
it's maybe just at a point where he's not gonna do, courtroom drama.
That's a good point.
Like maybe we'll get to that later on while he's still on the book. I don't know, but
I was also struck by the fact that sorry, I'm going back to the origin again, but this is another comparison I wanted to make. I was also struck by the fact that he trains his body well before he gets blind.
Mm-hmm.
And I had forgotten about that. And he's doing it for kind of no reason other than he kind of wants to be like his father, and his father won't let him fight and stuff, but he still like wants to be built like that and everything. And like I think it works. I can't decide which I like better. Like I can't decide if I like him training before or after he's blind.
Mm-hmm. Well, it probably helps, with him being able to train while he's blind. Like he has a base already.
So you think it's almost more realistic in this version?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't mind it when it's the other way. When he starts training once he's blind, but like that does set you up. Well, especially because we don't have Stick.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because the movie does it without Stick, and that's maybe a little bit more far-fetched. Whereas the TV show, like he's never lifted weights or done karate or anything by the time Stick shows up, and then Stick's like, you need some discipline, boy, and I'm gonna teach you all this stuff.
You're not gonna be a thundering dumbass like the Iron Fist. You're gonna fight the Hand.
I never thought I would hear an impression that sounded like a perfect blend of Stick and from that show and the old Ghost Rider guy in the first Ghost Rider movie.
Oh,
but
Sam
that was
Elliott.
Sam Elliott. Yeah, that was like a perfect blend. It was like 50-50, those two characters.
Beautiful. Well, that's in season 4. He would have come back and become a Ghost Rider. I had to come back, Maddie.
Why couldn't we have gotten that?
Right?
That would have been great. Tyler
that
Zayas
boy.
says Scarecrow gets fear gassy in the 60s, and it might actually be after this.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well then.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure that starts with Hugo Strange, like before that. So there is maybe still an argument that fear toxin with Batman comes earlier, but also fear toxin I could also see popping up in other things too. Like that does seem like just an idea that pulpy stuff would go to.
You know, with how theatrical Mr. Fear is, and he's got his wax museum. It kind of reminds me of having like special effects with movies and stuff. I kept thinking about Mysterio.
When he's one of the first
And
wax
then
models these
he
days.
has a wax statue of Mysterio.
Yeah, he's one of the first ones. I was like, oh, there's Mysterio.
I was already thinking about Mysterio.
He's not top tier though, like Craven. If he had gotten Mysterio, he could have controlled him.
No, certainly not. Well, and I don't know if I want to go as far as to say he feels like a knockoff of Mysterio or anything, but he's just not real menacing. Like, he's got a cool-looking mask, but it's almost that Scooby-Doo thing where it's like the actual villain isn't very scary, so he's got to overcompensate to try to seem scarier. I also like the fact that he accidentally douses himself with his own fear toxin in his origin, and then he's like, hey, that's a good idea, I should use that on people.
Well, no, it's even better. His cat douses him with his fear toxin, and he's like, whoa.
That's true.
That's scary. Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, because he's scared of his cat.
And, okay, no, it's even funnier than that. Because he's working on a chemical that can make his wax museum people come to life. And he's like, once they come to life, I'll be able to take over the planet. And then...
Wait, is that what he's doing? I missed that.
And then his cat knocks over a beaker and he gets hit by it. And he's like, oh, I'm scared now. Wait a minute. I couldn't perfect that. But I made this other thing that's also cool.
He did it on accident.
Yeah.
And then he builds a whole persona around it.
No, exactly.
Look, you got to take those opportunities where they come. I thought his plan to lure Daredevil was one of the most preposterous things that happens in this, and it shouldn't have worked, and it's just a weird other coincidence that it works. So let me explain. He goes, I made a wax statue of Daredevil. Daredevil has to come visit now. Like, I'll be able to lure him to me because there's no way he won't want to see his own statue. And I'm like, based on what? Like, why do you think Daredevil has that kind of vanity? Do you think this would be true of any superhero where it's like, oh my god, there's a statue of myself, I have to go there? And it wouldn't have worked, except Matt Murdock goes there as Matt Murdock with Foggy and Karen, because they're like, oh, there's this statue of Daredevil. We love Daredevil. We want to go see this. We love Daredevil despite the fact that everybody thinks he's a coward because he got hit by fear gas at the beginning of this. And let's all go hang out at this museum and look at the Daredevil statue. And so they go there, and then Daredevil hears or sees somebody that might be Ox from the Enforcers, and he goes, oh my god, I think I have found Mr. Fear. I have to come back here. So the only reason Daredevil shows up is because Matt Murdock was there to find out a henchman.
Well,
this is very convoluted writing.
Well, that's where Foggy's really dumb. Is they're standing there, and Matt goes, I smell Ox is right there, sticking his head out of a door.
Yeah.
I better come back later as Daredevil. And then Foggy's like, wait a minute, I think that's the supervillain Ox over there behind that door. I better come back later and investigate. And it's like, why?
I guess you forgot.
Why would you do that?
You're not a superhero. Well, why would you think? I mean, like a lot of people are. You have logic that doesn't make any sense in this issue. Why would you think the superhero would show up just because you had a statue of him?
You know what Matt should have done that would have like actually fixed the situation? He should have just went, "Hey Karen, wouldn't it be really weird if that supervillain Ox would happen to be here
Hey,
and like
wait a
stick
minute!
his head out of a door?"
Wait a minute, he's right there!
It works for anything. You can always do that.
Well, and then you gotta have that classic moment at the end where Daredevil's pretending to be the wax statue. Like, I was waiting for it the whole issue.
Yeah,
Well,
like, especially because we set it up with the
happen.
villains earlier.
Yes.
So, yeah, exactly.
I
Get set up
wanted
and pay off with that.
I wanted some of those other villains to turn out to be the real villains for no reason.
Magneto's been here the whole time.
Oh, I like that footnote that was like only there's a line that's like Daredevil's the only person on the planet that can detect, I forget what exactly it was. Something to do with, oh, I remember what it was. That can always tell where north is because he can detect like the magnetic poles or whatever. And then the footnote goes, or maybe Magneto. Magneto could maybe also do that.
We don't know yet, but maybe.
Maybe.
That footnote is the entire basis for Ultimatum.
Fewer footnotes than I expected.
Yeah, not too many.
We kind of skimped out on those, but there's a couple of great ones.
Yeah, we have to have one for Ox, and then one for the Eel, who is a villain I wasn't familiar with, but I've never read Solo, Human Torch.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then I forget where there was another one. Where we were kind of bragging about continuity, and I'm always like, yeah, you earned that. Like, they're really keeping track of what characters are in what books at what times. I always really appreciate that.
That might be with Ox, where it was like, oh, Ox got out of prison earlier than the other enforcers from issue 14 when they were last caught or something. It might be that one.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I feel like it was a totally other book.
It might be the Electro issue then.
Maybe. I can't remember now. I forget.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a couple of kind of impressive ones where I was like, oh, way to keep track of that. Like, you'd almost have to be writing your own encyclopedia as you go. Like, it's kind of cool when that happens.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I forgot that X-Men predated this, so I was surprised when the X-Men stuff showed up in the Wax Museum.
Yeah. Well, and that also kind of felt like they're just showcasing just how much they've invented in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. 100%, because there's so many characters in that, and every time we come back to the Wax Museum,
there's new ones.
It's just to show off new ones. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. I think the yellow suit works.
Yeah, I've always liked the yellow suit. Obviously, I like the red suit more, but I do like the yellow suit.
I think the best argument at this period for the red suit is his eyes are already red. Mm-hmm. And it just looks better with that. Like, it is kind of odd that he's got red eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just, with being, like, Daredevil, like, you're more emphasizing the devil aspect.
The devil aspect, yeah. What's surprising to me is that we didn't incorporate yellow at all in the red suit. Where it's like, I would have thought that they would have a version that just downplays it a little bit, but still has some yellow in it.
Maybe like some sort of like yellow stripes or something.
Or something, yeah. Or you invert it where the D's are yellow now. I could have seen doing that.
That could have been it.
Maybe it's true. Sorry, maybe it's true that when Stan Lee said we decided we wanted one color. I mean that might be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, When also with the yellow suit, his billy club is like a big brown stick, and then immediately next issue with the red suit, it is what you think of. It is like the two white sticks on, on his leg. It's like they also redesigned his billy club for that suit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like the Billy Club's a different thing in the first place.
Also, one of the dumbest logic things, where he's Matt Murdock. He's like, "I will become Daredevil," and then he looks down at his cane and he goes, "I don't need this cane, but I should keep using it as Matt Murdock, to like keep up appearances that I'm blind. Also, it would be a good weapon as Daredevil." It's like, what?
I love that the movie hung on to that.
Yeah, no, that is really fun. It at least like shifts.
Yeah, it doesn't look exactly the same.
Different.
It's like, no, why are you?
Like, it's a little dumb.
Why are you carrying around? Yeah, it is. But if it looks exactly the same, you're just constantly carrying around evidence that you're a blind person.
Well, and it's better. Like, Ben Affleck never, goes, "Oh, I should keep this cane just so that people think I'm blind. Also, I'll use it as my main weapon."
Because one of the things that's cool inherently about Daredevil, and we even play with it some in these early issues, is that nobody knows he's blind. So he's got this extra one-up on them. Like, it isn't just that he's got these powers that aren't immediately noticeable, but even beyond that, there's this thing they don't know about him that he can use to his advantage. I always wonder why he doesn't knock lights out more often than he does. Because we get that once in these issues. And it's like, I would think anytime you're in an enclosed space where you can figure out where the light switch was, you turn it off. Every single time.
Yeah.
Why would you ever not do that when you're fighting? Give yourself the advantage. Because you don't need light. Why not every single time? Throw your billy club, knock the lights out.
You get the oneer from season 2 of the show where he's got the chain on his arm and he's smashing all the lights as he's walking up to people. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, do it every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I like to, like, with that, to add on to that, when we have little moments where somebody says something that Daredevil couldn't perceive, and it's like a little like telling moment, like let's say like somebody says, like this is like this color or whatever, and Daredevil's just like, oh, yeah.
There's a couple places where I feel like I'm not thinking of examples right away, but where I remember thinking it's actually being pretty clever and somewhat believable in the way Daredevil perceives the world and how he's able to like use that over sighted people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I is thinking about that quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially when we get the like full breakdown of what each sense brings to him. And the taste one's crazy, where he's like, I can eat a pretzel and I can tell you exactly how many pieces of salt are on it. I'm like, that would drive me insane.
Yeah.
It's like you eat something and you can like fully break down exactly what the ingredients are.
That'd make you like
that'd be so annoying.
It'd make you like a super taster.
Yeah, you'd want to eat like nothing but gray, flavorless sludge. You're like, I don't want to be able to break down every single individual flavor every time I'm eating something.
Or you can tell how many of something there is by like the weight of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it's like he can feel a gun and he can tell how many bullets.
That's what it was. He can tell how many bullets are in a gun. I was like, oh, I don't know about that, but all right. I mean, it would depend on the kind of gun, and then it feels like some of the things that he is able to know because of his heightened senses, you would need an encyclopedic knowledge of the item, though.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be enough to just be like, I'm holding a gun. I can tell how many... Well, you'd have to know what kind of gun it is, and then you'd have to know how many bullets are supposed to be in that gun, And then right, and then even if you had that, like, what if it has fewer bullets than it's supposed to? Like, how can you determine that exactly?
He's a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains everything, Austin.
No, he has to know how many bullets are in a gun. Ah, it's the 60s. There's like 3 guns.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the yellow costume is, I think thematically, and again, this is never brought up, but I think thematically it really works because of the man without fear idea, where it isn't just he's a blind guy, so he doesn't care what what color his costume is. Maybe he doesn't even know it's yellow, whatever. Or the irony of, and this is the reason some people didn't like it, apparently. The irony of he's supposed to be fearless, but he's wearing the color of cowardice. He's wearing yellow. You could say that's an intentional irony. What I like about it is he's wearing the brightest color you can think of because he's not scared to be noticed. So, like, he jumps in, like I said, feet first in every situation. He always knows he's going to get out of it. He's not stealthy. He's not even concerned about being stealthy.
Well, it's almost interesting, right, that his dad's a boxer, because he's almost got like a circus performer look to him, especially the Daredevil idea.
Yes.
Like, you almost expect him to have the Johnny Blaze backstory or something akin to it, where his dad is, a circus performer, and then that kind of comes out when he becomes the hero.
Or even like a Robin backstory.
Yeah, or that too.
He could have been raised in the circus. He could have been, like, brought up as a trapeze artist or something, and, like, that's how he trained.
It's almost funny that, it's specifically boxing, which is very different to how Daredevil fights, and especially when you get into fights with Daredevil, where he, like, picks people up with his feet and, like, spins them and then throws them. Like, it's very circus performer, even just in how he moves.
Like, why isn't that in his backstory? And we did a lot of on the nose kinds of stuff. I mean, you could have gotten away with having both. I never thought about that, Austin. Having both the acrobatic or circus background with the devil motif, like we do in the movie where we make him, Jack the Devil Murdoch. I never thought that was going too far. Where it's like he partly gets the idea to be Daredevil from his father's, like, wrestling motif. You could have built that into a circus thing too, really easily.
Yeah, I didn't have that thought until just now while you were talking about that. I was like, yeah, there kind of is, like, a different version of this character that you could have had that.
Yeah, sure. And then when we get to Ghost Rider, if we kept that the same, it would have looked like it was ripping off Daredevil.
No, it would be the reverse. He'd be the son of a boxer, and then his boxer father gets cancer. Also, it's funny because both of these characters were adapted into film by Mark Steven
By
Johnson.
the same guy, that's right.
The same guy.
But no, that is really funny because Ghost Rider is more of an actual, honest-to-God Daredevil, because he's based so much on, like...
Evil Knievel.
Evil Knievel, yeah.
But I also think, especially when we're in the Owl issue, we are kind of thinking of the Daredevil idea, where he's got the thing where he's tied up, and then he breaks out, and it's like, this was just like not Evil Knievel. That's what we were just talking about. Harry Houdini.
Yes.
And then he breaks out of the cage.
That was the first
and he swings off of the cage to the next cage, and it's like, okay, we're kind of thinking about that kind of, like, Daredevil, like, escape trap thing.
Yeah, and then his father is a boxer, but he doesn't really have a lot of a boxing motif in what he's doing. But then Spider-Man starts as a wrestler, and his
Stanley was just a fan of combat sports.
Uncle had nothing to do with that. So, like, it's kind of odd. It's almost like they got each other's thing.
Exactly. Uncle Ben, it turns out, is actually a trapeze artist.
I think I think one of the reasons he let himself go a little bit in his later years. I think one of the reasons that Spider-Man and Daredevil get teamed up as much as they do and become friends, besides the obvious, they're both the street level superheroes that live in New York, is because a lot of those parallels are either intentional or, I suspect, more likely just the longer they went, the more they noticed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It was like, oh wow, we have these two characters that have a lot. Like, you could write a whole paper about their similarities and differences and how they're kind of mirrors of each other.
Mm-hmm. No, in a way, it's kind of crazy. It took till, I think it's just when he's drawing with Miller, the issue where they team up where Spider-Man becomes blind.
Oh, I've never read that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Spider-Man's like, "Oh, I'm blind. My life's ruined." And Daredevil's like, "Yeah, okay."
You still got spider sense.
Yeah, and Spider-Man's like, "I can't do anything. Being blind sucks. You don't have to deal with what I have to deal with, Daredevil."
I mean, he's got a point. If like his other senses weren't immediately heightened. That's the thing is,
spider sense. He's got something.
He's got that, but that's what's fun about Daredevil is it's such a trade-off where it's like you're handicapped, but you're not, but you are, but you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, kind of, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, it is a limitation. I think it's the best example of your greatest strength is your greatest weakness as a superpower. Where like he has to be blind to do the things he does, but then there's these obvious big limitations to that. I will criticize these early issues for taking too long to get to too much noise in a space throws him off. It's weird. It's 6 issues before that comes up.
Yeah, it's almost surprising it doesn't come up with the train scene in this first issue.
Well, it does in the movie. Like he's got noise.
Exactly.
He's got noise issues, and the movie. I don't know. These almost make me like the movie better. I respect how much Silver Age they're doing in that, considering how massive Miller is, and obviously they're doing a lot of Miller with that too. But I don't think that movie gets much credit for going to the foundation of it the same way Raimi did with Spider-Man. Because a lot of Spider-Man fans really appreciate the fact that Raimi wasn't just looking at the 90s stuff and the 80s stuff, and that he did Stan Lee's Spider-Man. That movie kind of does the same thing with Daredevil to a degree. And I never had that thought until I went and looked at this.
Yeah. No, I mean, he does the same thing with Ghost Rider, where he's going back to the first issue to less success, but like we're at least trying. Although there's weird stuff in that first Ghost Rider origin that I don't know that you would put in a movie. Like the whole thing with Mephisto is that he's like, "I love Satan. Satan's cool. I'm gonna summon Satan."
Yeah, I would do that. It's hard to immediately relate to or find your protagonist sympathetic when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, and
makes sense.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I've criticized lots of movies for basically only doing an hour of research and adapting the first issue or the first episode of something, and then going your own way and not looking at anything else. But those two examples, Daredevil and Spider-Man, are not doing that. And obviously, Spider-Man is the better movie. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just saying, like, I kind of appreciate going back to this, how much of this is in that, and that it is kind of a blend of those eras. Like, that's kind of cool.
And the Daredevil movie does the coolest thing, where all the boxers are comic book writers and artists.
That's pretty great.
And don't they specifically call Joe Quesada a bum?
Yes, they do. It's great.
So there you go.
Yeah, Bendis was a fighter.
Yep. We get to see Frank Miller get killed on screen.
Yep. Yeah, you can't say it doesn't have reverence for the medium.
Yeah, I think the fight that Murdoch does when he dies, I think, is against Ramita.
Yeah, it's Ramita. I think Colon might be one of them that's mentioned. I can't remember now.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's boy, it's been too long. There's he runs down like the kind of fixer guy runs down like 3 names, and he's like somebody Bendis, and I used to know that, and I can't think of it right now.
You know what it needed though is at the beginning of the movie when you're seeing that fight, it's the Devil Murdoch versus like Ramita Senior, and then later on he comes back to that gym and it's something versus Ramita Junior, and he's just like, some things never change.
That would be great. I always thought it was odd that it's Fogwell's gym, and we have Foggy Nelson.
Mm-hmm. There's just, a lot of fog. Well, it's because his vision's foggy.
I don't know why we put. That's probably not the reason, but that's a good reach. That's a good reach there, Austin.
Thank you.
Oh yes, Kasada's the guy that gets killed by the sea train.
Oh, that's right.
That's right, Tyler. Thanks, man. Yeah, he's the guy that's like, I was acquitted, and then Daredevil goes, not by me. It's great. Yes,
yeah,
thank you, Tyler. That's what it is.
Day.
You're right. It's Mac Miller and Bendis. That's what it is.
Oh, okay, that's right.
He goes Mac because he's got that really thick New York accent. He goes Mac Miller Bendis. They were all my fighters.
Now I got bums like Ramita and Casada.
Yeah, Jareth, I remember that. That actor is the guy in the wheelchair in Breaking Bad. When you watch enough Breaking Bad, with him not being able to speak and just dinging the bell a lot, and then you see him in something else where he's actually like got dialogue and walking around, like it's always Whiplash. Where I'm like, oh yes,
why aren't you dinging your bell?
Well, and the first time we actually get a flashback with him in Breaking Bad, it's disarming. And then of course he comes into Better Call Saul, like in his heyday, and you finally get to see him play that. It's great.
That's cool.
It is. Well, we're at 2 hours. What else did you want to mention about this, Austin, that we haven't talked about? I feel like we were very thorough.
No, I think so too. The only thing I have to say left is the Matador issue was probably the lamest one to me. It was fine.
Pretty lame. The Matador.
Overall, I liked this stuff.
But can I just say, I was entertained by how weak it was. Because
that's fair.
The Matador is a villain that you gotta appreciate just how arrogant that guy is over his Matador skills, and that his whole motivation, thanks for bringing that up because we didn't talk about that, just real briefly, that his whole motivation is, I was the best Matador ever, but I was abusive to my bulls to the point where the audience turned on me and were rooting for the bulls. So now I want to get revenge on all of humanity. And I'm such a good bullfighter that I'm gonna do crimes by taking my big red sheet and putting it in front of trucks and crashing them.
Well, also,
it's so good.
Imagine if the Matador was just at this party, rubbing
yes.
the
And then Matt Murdock just goes, "Could you imagine if he was? Wait a minute, the guy's got a point. He's right over there."
No, that scene is one of the best scenes of these 6 issues, especially when Karen goes, "Get in this closet. Are you coming in with me?" No, I want to see how this turns out.
When Matt I forgot all about that until you brought it up. When Matt goes to the library and he's like, wait a minute, I feel like I've heard a story about a guy kind of like this. And then he goes and researches him and he finds exactly the Matador this has to be. And then everybody is shocked to learn it. I'm like, has no one else heard about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would get if it wasn't a big story. Why does Matt know about it? Or did I miss something?
He's a fan of Matadors.
I guess.
I don't know. That also reminds me, too.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about how half-assed Purple Man's origin is, which is just that he broke into a military facility and he was like, I'm going to rob this. And then a soldier shot at him, missed. It hit like a big colander of purple goo. Basically the purple stuff from Sunny D commercials. It spills out on him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm Purple Man now." Like that's it.
Yep.
I was like, that's so like okay.
It almost would have been better if we had no explanation.
That was what I thought. I was like, that's so just kind of nothing. Like, you just got purple stuff on him, and now he can control people. Okay.
RJ Godzilla, the Matador, is just a 66 Batman villain. No, he's like the Cavalier, but more lame.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that character completely cracked me up. And then Matt has that ridiculous idea that ends up working. Like, everybody likes to lure people to them in stupid ways that end up working when they shouldn't work. Where he goes, I know, I'll throw myself under the bus, mess up my own credibility, and tell everyone that the Matador, is it that issue that it's the Matador, or am I thinking of a different character? That the Matador and Daredevil are the same person. And at first I was thinking it was some kind of weird, clever way to make people not know that he was Daredevil, but it has nothing to do with that. It was just to lure the Matador to him.
Yeah, so he'd be like, I'm not Daredevil, I'm gonna kill you, Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
But the Matador, I don't know if you have the page, but the Matador opens up the door into Matt Murdock's office, and it's just Daredevil sitting there like this.
Yes! We were looking at it earlier. I'll come back to it. Oh, it's fantastic.
It's so funny.
Real quick, before we finish up, I noticed a motif through this, but I don't know if it's unique to Daredevil or if Spider-Man kind of has this, and maybe some of the other books too, Austin. But there are several villains in this, maybe technically all of them, that are either averse to violence or having to kill anyone, or at least make a show of that. That like to say, I don't want to kill you, but I will. Or, I abhor violence, but I guess I'll have to. Like, I don't remember that in Spider-Man. Like, I remember Spider-Man's villains, a lot of them being a lot more, like, just, I hate you, you're going to die.
They are, yeah. And, well, specifically, because Purple Man says it, and I think it is, like, that I abhor violence.
I think almost all of them have it. Like, the Cavalier says it. I think even Mr. Fear maybe says it. I'm not sure about Electro, but he's a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. But Purple Man keeps saying it. Like, it's like every couple of pages he says it. And I think he says it in the show.
Oh, interesting.
I think there's a point.
I
think it's... I'm trying to remember. I think it's when... there's like that point when Jessica and him are like kind of together and they pal around, and I think it's when they go into the house maybe to help somebody, and she's like, you know, look how doing good is also cool, Kilgrave. And I think he maybe says it there. Yeah, like I abhor violence.
It's interesting that you could convince yourself that you have any regard for life when you treat people like action figures.
Or when you're just purple.
Well, at least in Jessica Jones, he's not. His face isn't purple. He's not, like, completely purple.
I've always been so disappointed he doesn't become fully purple by the end of that. Like, the entire time watching that show, I'm like, surely he will become purple by the end of the season. He'll get dropped into a vat of
purple acid.
The most you get is when he, like, starts to yell, he, like, gets purpley, like, on his neck. That's kind of it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Boy, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I just rewatched it. I think like 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I should do that.
That's the only one of those seasons I've ever really gone back. I really like the first season of Jessica Jones. Although I'm kind of in the mood to go back through Daredevil.
Yeah. I was watching through it with Jason at one point, and then we got distracted and we were watching something else. We haven't been back to it. He was not immediately impressed with it. It took like 3 episodes before he was finally like, okay, I get why people like the show.
Interesting.
I was a little surprised by that. It doesn't hit as hard now as it did back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something.
Show him Jessica Jones, and the end of that first episode will be like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm hooked.
I bet that doesn't watch Dated in the same way, and I don't mean to throw any shade at Daredevil. That's a wonderful show, but going back to it, well over a decade later, it's weird. It does watch of its time and a little dated now. Like it's a little quainter. It's hard to pinpoint why.
I think they both have that to some degree.
Well, I haven't gone back to Jessica Jones. Like, I was shocked to feel that way about Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
And so it didn't hit Jason the same way even on a first viewing.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think, impressionable 14, 15-year-old kid, like it would watch maybe even darker than it would for an adult. Not really. Not so far. But he hasn't gotten into the crazy Kingpin stuff yet. So
I mean, it probably also hurts that he saw the Penguin first.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if he did. Maybe he did see the Penguin first. If that's the case, that was a mistake on my part.
No, that's okay. But like, make him watch a ton of CW shows and then go back to Daredevil, or make him watch any of the other Netflix shows besides season 1 of Jessica Jones and Daredevil.
Yeah, just for content, just for.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, oh man. Well, Mystical Green Beanie says that he thinks Daredevil holds up, but he's not a fan of their Kingpin.
Oh,
I'm really surprised by that.
That's the big thing for me. That's not at all dated and is still like perfect and inspired, and that's funny.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, because I think that's the definitive version of that character.
Yeah, that's what I have
in that season. And certainly there's decent stuff with him later, but just particularly that season. Because I always think of that kind of like Heroes, where that first season is a piece, and then there's good stuff after it. A lot more than in Heroes, certainly. But like I always think of that Daredevil season 1 as a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and my favorite thing about Daredevil is that I think, season 1's great, season 2 is pretty good, season 3 is great, and then they just never made any more. So it's like it ended on a really high note.
Yeah, and I mean, I think season 3 is better than 2, but I don't think it comes to the highs of 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I do think it has a better ending though, even though it's the same ending. Like it's just, yeah, the ending of season 1 I think is a little lackluster, but it's fine.
Yeah, it drags for me in a way that 1 doesn't. I think the Bullseye stuff is the stuff that to me most feels like the boring parts of those other shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bullseye to me isn't like as on the same level as Matt and Fisk. Yeah, he's kind of always been something I've been disappointed with. I kind of wish you did more of like a movie take where he was maybe a little sillier. To compare off of the two of them, where he's like a little too like we're trying to be serious with it, and it just doesn't really land for me.
Yeah, he's too straight laced. Like we need to have fun with that character,
especially because they went with Poindexter as his name.
Yeah,
but and every time he throws things in that show, it is genuinely funny. So it's like you could then whenever he throws stuff at people in the show, it is genuinely really funny. So it's like you could have played him a little bit more over the top.
Well, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and finish up here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow night with Chris for a new comic late night, and Austin will probably come in and talk about some books there. Also, I have a ridiculous amount of stuff I've bought over the last couple weeks, so I might pace it. I might have to do more of it.
I might have
week
to break
if we're
it up.
reviewing anything tomorrow, because I've got so much stuff I bought. They had at my comic shop, Austin. They had a big Black Friday sale, and all the dollar books were $1.25, and they put some decent stuff in their dollar bins. So I just went in there and stacked. I bought like 100 books.
No, and I've got 20 new issues and a
Good
couple of
Lord.
and a couple of my books I'm behind on, so I have like an extra issue for them, and I've only caught up on one of them so far, so I've got like 19 new issues plus more for tomorrow. So we'll see. I might also space it out so I can throw some of it off to next week.
You're gonna come in tomorrow and you're gonna talk about 5.
I'm gonna be like, I read this one book. It was the one that I read yesterday.
I think I have like 12 to read, maybe. Like,
yeah, because I had 11 the week, like the last one that we did, and then 9 this last week.
and one of mine is Batman Deadpool, and I've read the main story, but I haven't read any of the backups yet. So like, I have a lot to read.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Jareth, anything streams about Marvel Cosmic Invasion? What is that?
Oh, that's that new beat 'em up. It came out today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I want to play that. I didn't realize it was out already.
Yeah, Sam. So their roster's a little strange.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, I might do something with that at some point.
Yeah, hit me up, because I want to get that. We can maybe play through it or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get it right away.
Yeah.
Although I just got paid, so I can probably work it in. Yeah, we should talk about that.
Let me know. We can work that out.
Thanks for reminding me about that, Jareth, because a couple months ago I looked up the release date, and then I promptly forgot when that was coming out.
I forgot about it until today. So.
Matthew wants to know if I'm going to review the rest of Born Again. I'm in no hurry on that. I kind of don't want to see the rest of it. It lost me after 4 episodes, and I don't want to watch any more of that. It kind of hurt my feelings. I'm good. Like, if like there are folks that are really enjoying that, and more power to you. I'm glad you are. It's not the same thing. I think the writing is real rough, and I don't need any more of that. I'm good.
Well, I came into that review that we did of the first 3 episodes with like a fiery passion, to a point where I felt bad for being so fiery afterwards, where I was like, oh man, that's maybe a little too intense.
Well, I liked it a lot more than you, or maybe not a lot more than you did, but I felt better about it. I thought there was more potential than you. One more episode and I was right where you were.
Yeah.
I watched one more and I was like, nope,
away.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm good. It's still Disney Plus Marvel masquerading as something better than that, and I'm sorry to say.
Season 3 had enough of an end. It doesn't bother me too much, but
the only reason it bothered me is because I thought they really needed it for credibility, just for them.
Yeah,
and
they definitely did.
They got nothing now. I mean, like, there's people that are happy enough with it, but I heard a lot of it seemed okay until the ending, and so I think there's people that either jump ship or are not happy with it.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that were like, it got good in like the last episode.
Oh,
like,
really? I didn't hear that.
2. Well, because I think it's that, like, and how it broke down with like the new creators.
Oh, okay.
You have people going like, oh, maybe next season will be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I've just been burnt so much with them that I'm like, I don't mean to be a downer. Again, if you're enjoying that, great, and maybe I could come back to it and like it more, but like I can't get excited about doing that. I got sick of getting burned by their stuff. So it gets to the point where, you keep hoping it gets better and hoping it gets better, and eventually you go, I don't know why I'm wasting my time. Because the worst feeling is when you come into a thing and you watch the first couple episodes of something and you go, oh, they finally got a better show. Maybe they're turning things around, or maybe at least with this one thing they figured it out. Kind of like a Star Wars Andor situation, apparently, because I've not seen that show, but it's like everybody talks about that as like the one exception with Star Wars, and then they'll screw it up. They'll jump the shark somehow immediately after that. That's way worse than everything sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that feeling.
It makes me yearn for the days where it was kill yourself or go to a wax museum. I'd rather go to a wax museum.
Well, anyway, I gotta go to bed. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Come join us tomorrow night for more comic talk. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. This was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Oh, and I guess I'll throw out too. My next pick is going to be.
Sorry, I forgot to ask you.
No, it's okay. Just a bunch of Stan Lee Marvel Origins. So.
Oh God, that's going to run together.
It'll be interesting to compare. I think.
How many is it going to be? 6.
So, I think it's
6 is good.
Well, I think it was 8 because a couple of them are like the 8-page ones.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it was like enough to make 6 issues, like in full.
Yeah, don't make me read more than 6 issues of this kind of stuff, because sometimes it takes me 20-30 minutes to read one issue.
No. No, it'll be 6 issues equivalent.
Yeah, that's okay. I can do that. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Bye, everybody.
See ya.